Okay, so I'm going to run through a little refraction here with the Marco RTS 5100. This is how the desk is set up. So this is the computer, and here's the refraction system. I have my EHR up here and my schedule up here, and we're just going to go through a refraction. I'm not going to really deal with this at this point. So this is what the control panel looks like. On top is a touchpad that you can touch and control it that way. Down here is the finger pads. This is what I use by far the most. And so it has a pre-programmed refraction system that basically this button here, this little arrow, leads you step by step through a basic refraction. So what we're going to do, this N button here, when you push this button, it gives you a number of data to input into the system. Whenever the auto refractor takes a measurement, it puts a number at the top, and the assistants will staple that paper to their exam form so you know what paper correlates with what patient, what data number. And so this was my last patient, and so if I wanted to have a different patient's number, I would just turn this knob and it turns that number. So again, my last patient was 1742, so that's the one I want. I'm going to push this button here, the blue button, which means auto refraction, and it inputs it into the system. And so this is the prescription that it was taken from the auto refractor. Right eye here, left eye here, sphere, cylinder, axis, and add as you go down. Whatever is highlighted in blue is what the phoropter over here is set on. And so right now both eyes are open in the phoropter. To start the program, you're going to push the program button. And the program button puts little targets in the oculars. It puts in the pre-programmed PD, again, that the auto refractor took, and you bring the phoropter over in front of the patient just to get them lined up. And you can kind of look through the holes of the phoropter, and they're going to have those targets on them to make sure the patient is lined up. Once they're lined up, you push this arrow, and again, this arrow button leads you through the refraction basically. So I'm going to push the arrow button. So it's telling you that it's occluded the left eye and it's on the right eye sphere power. And this box right here is what's up on the chart for them to see. And so when I check their sphere power, I usually want to isolate a line. The way I isolate a line is by this button right here. When I push that button, it isolates the 2025 line. If I wanted a bigger line, I would just push up and it would go to the 2030 line. Keep on pushing up, it'll go up as high as you want. I'm going to go back to the 2025 line. That's usually the line I have up when I check their initial sill power. This knob, turning it to the left makes it add plus, turning it to the right makes it add minus. And so the patient would be behind the phoropter, and I'd be checking their sphere power in their right eye, and I would give the instructions of which is better, 1 or 2. And let's say they said I can't tell, then we'll say 2 or 3. I'm just turning it to the left to add plus until they start to see blurry. Let's say 3 made them blurry, I'll go back to the 1.5. So now we're going to go check the axis. Again, this arrow button automatically will go to the axis. The way it does the axis is there's actually dots for the patient to look at. and I just say that those dots are going to be kind of blurry, but I'm going to give you two different choices and tell me which one you think is better. This is what I usually give the numbers to 1 and 2, and it correlates with this image here, or these buttons here. And so right now it's on the green, where it would be adding to the cylinder axis, and this button's taking away from the cylinder axis. So I would say, is it better with 3, which is, it's on this one, or 4? And as you can see, it changed here. So back to 3 or 4, whichever one they say is better, you turn this knob in that direction. So let's say they said 3 was better than 4. I'm going to turn it towards this green, so I'm going to rotate this dial to the left, and it changes in 5-degree increments. So now it's at 90 degrees. I'm going to do it again. Is it better with 5 or 6? Let's say they said 5 is going to go back towards the red. If you want to go to single degree steps, you push this button here. It goes between 1 degree or 5 degrees as far as when you turn this knob, how many degrees it changes it. So let's say we isolated the axis to 80. I push the button again, and now it goes to the cylinder power. I'm going to go ahead and add a quarter minus to make it 75. And again, this tells you which it's on right now. So red, you're going to add more minus, and green, you're going to add plus. So it's on this one here. I'll say, are the dots better with 1 or 2? 1 or 2. Let's say they say 2 to the green. I turn it 2 clicks to the left. That makes it a quarter amount of cylinder. And we check again. Is it better with 3 or 4? 3 or 4. Let's say they say 4. When it's on the red, I know that their cell power is minus a half. So now we've checked the sphere, the axis, and the cell, and I push this arrow again to go to the next step of the refraction. It goes back to the sphere power, and at this point I usually isolate the 20/20 line to see if they can see that. If they can't, I usually add a quarter of minus just to see if they can. If they still cannot, I usually push this up button to go to the 20/25 line to see if they can see that. Whatever line they can see is where I stop, and I push this button again. It goes to the left eye, and we do the left eye exactly the same way. We isolate the line, we give choices for the sphere power, hit next to go to the axis, we give choices for the axis. Whichever one they choose, we turn the knob in that direction, usually a couple clicks. Do it again. Let's say they go to the left this time, so 85 is their axis. Now we're on the cell power. The auto refractor measured 0.75, so I usually put in -1 and give the choices of 1 or 2. Again, 1 over here, red being more, 2 being less. Let's say they say 2. I'll go down to a half. Do it again, 3 or 4. Let's say they choose 4, they want more. We know their axis or their power is 0.75. Push this again. Again, it will go to the spherical power. You isolate what line. Whatever line that they can see, you leave it on that line, and it'll say, oops, I didn't mean to touch that. It'll say 20/20, and that will be inputted into the computer for their final BVA. I push it again. It goes to both eyes. I again isolate the 20/20 line, see if they can see it. If you want to balance, I'll show that in a second.